It's Monday. Where's my camera? That one. I don't know. It's Monday. What's going on, nation? We're bringing it here on a Monday, July 29th, the only live morning show to get your ass out of bed. Mornings in the lab with Keith and friends. I got myself, C. Marty Fit, the incomparable John Anderson. I'm just going to get off the camera there. There we go. They're going to join me here in a couple of moments. A little bit of a different show today, nation. A little bit of a different show today. This is a show that I normally don't do. No, because we're here to talk about, apparently we're here to talk about me today. I think the consensus is, nation, we want to get to know the old lovely affable co-host Keith Bilous. So today we're going to get into a discussion about how I started a little bit of a company, social media company, back in the olden days, and sold it for not one, not two, not three, not four, nope, for $50 million. Oh, yeah, so we're going to talk about that today, and we're going to dig into the Business Athlete Manifesto, the pillars that we get up and stand on to bring you what you need to get yourself moving forward in life. So I welcome you to join the live conversation, the only live conversation on the planet that happens at 8 o'clock Eastern time right here on YouTube, X, LinkedIn, to help you guys get going. I invite you to join the conversation. I invite you to join the comments. I invite you to jump into the threads. I invite you to jump into the conversation on Threads, on X, on LinkedIn, wherever you are. I invite you to jump in and join the dialogue today. What's going on, gentlemen? C. Marty Fit, John Anderson. Where are we starting? How's it going, Mr. Anderson, this morning?
Oh, everything is good, baby. Up early, getting it done. There's something about the early morning that just can you hear me? We good? We lose it? We lose a connection?
I can hear you.
Keith, you there? We're here. Beautiful. There's something about that morning. You got to get a jump start on the day. You get up and you get cracking and you handle what you need to do before the rest of the world needs you.
I agree.
Yes.
You couldn't said that any better, John.
That's it.
Especially on a Monday, right, Johnny? Right, Marty?
Yeah, Monday sets the tone for the week, man. The week doesn't start on Tuesday or Wednesday. So get your butt up on Monday and get to work. Do what you got to do.
Hey, Marty. So, a lot of people want like 4-day weekends. Like, I want a 4-day weekend. Are we just postponing the inevitable? And if the weekend starts on Tuesday, it's like, nah, just get going. Like, just get your ass out of bed and get going. Hey, Marty?
Yeah, I feel like the more time you spend away from your normal routine, it's hard to get back into the routine.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
So true. So we're gonna get into a big conversation here today, guys. Our normal show here. We're gonna chew around the fat here for the first 2 minutes. Gonna catch up with John and Marty how their weekend was. We are then going to we're gonna get into our two discussion topics: how I overcame failure and built myself a multi-million-dollar company. We're gonna talk about the Business Athlete Manifesto, getting to some of the polls. We got the accountability check-in here today. Gonna highlight the week, but before we do that, I've purposely have not talked to my friends all weekend because I'm like, no, let's keep it really natural and organic on a Monday morning and see how everybody was. I know, John, you were working in your studio this weekend.
Yes, I had a lot going on. Real quick, going back to this whole Monday idea, I do want to plant the seed into our listeners, our viewers, that be careful with the concept of running to the weekend, because that means you don't have to do what you're doing on Monday, Friday. If you're running to the weekend, it usually means you're not really pleased with what you're doing Monday to Friday. When you have a rhythm of life that just goes Saturday, 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 Saturday. What does that mean? You're living in Saturday, and that's what you want. You want this life that there's not a whopping difference between, say, Monday and Saturday or Tuesday and Saturday. You want that life that you don't want to leave. You don't want to escape. So that being said, yes, my weekend was filled with a lot of interviews, working on my studio, but more importantly, helping my middle daughter move. And if there's one thing I don't like to do, I like to lift heavy shit, but I don't like to lift heavy furniture.
I hear that.
I knew you were moving this weekend, so I wanted to dig into that topic in a couple seconds, actually, because
man alive,
moving is worst things that humans have to do, right? So it's funny that you mentioned. I want to get into that in a few moments. Konetsky, I miss you too, my friend. Good to have you here this morning in the lab.
What's up, Konetsky?
And of course, hello, Mario. Good to have you here in the show as well this morning. Looks like we have no Enzo yet there, Marty. So I'm sure Enzo is still sleeping in here this morning, but he'll be here in a few moments, I am sure.
He should be here.
I think he's going to be here. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Johnny, you talked about the weekend, and I saw some comments on my social feeds this weekend around humans that have the Sunday scaries. You've heard that term, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole idea of, oh my God, it's Sunday.
Yeah, Sunday. And then all of a sudden they've wrecked another day of their life because all they're doing is they've started to fret Monday. That's why I said we got to really be careful with the idea that we have these 2 days that we run to escape. That means that you're looking to escape your life.
Yes.
I don't take vacations per se.
Yes.
Because I don't want to escape my day-to-day life. You know, the joke is I keep living Saturday over and over. Of course, my day changes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but look at my Mondays and my Saturdays or my Tuesdays and my Sundays. Not terribly different because I do what I want to do every day. And doing what I want to do every day, I made a decision way back when. I'm not going to do stuff I don't enjoy for money anymore. And that might have been one of the biggest changes in the quality of my life. Massive.
That's big.
Massive.
That is big. That is big. Well, that tunes into, Marty and John, the idea of the Sunday scaries. I will tell you guys, because we're going to get into this later on in the show here, but I experienced the Sunday scaries before. Right, you know, you get through Saturday, you're teasing into Sunday, and you're getting into the afternoon, the evenings around you, and you're like, oh my God, I got to go to that place tomorrow. Oh no, I don't like my boss. Oh no, I don't like my coworkers. And then the anxiety fills up, and then you go to bed and you wake up on Monday and you start your work off on the wrong foot. So if you're somebody listening right now who has the Sunday scaries, I could not encourage you enough to either, like John said, make a change or make a change. Because, those Sunday scares are never going to leave unless you make a change. And I know it takes courage to make a change. But as John said, if you can find the courage to make that change, those Sunday scares are going to be gone, man. And just think about it. 1/7 of your week, John and Marty, every single month, you're sitting back and you're stressed out with anxiety because you're scared about the week ahead. I can't imagine what that feels like, right? I'm sorry, I can't imagine. You got to change it up.
Absolutely.
Well, and then people say, well, how do I change it up? I'm buried in this. I'm buried in this Friday. How do I change it up? Here's what you do. You basically, if you break it down, we got more time. Oh, I don't have time. Yes. Do the math. There's plenty of extra time. You're just not using your time wisely. If you can commit literally 1 hour per day towards, call it a side hustle, but it's an activity, something you have a passion about, you will get better so much faster at that thing, whatever it is that you enjoy, that you look forward to doing. So it shouldn't be, oh my God, I got to do this for an hour today. You're running down the same track you were for. It's like, man, I can't wait to do that for an hour today. And you're going to get so good at whatever that is, the thing's going to start to pay you. And pretty soon you're going to make more doing this passion that you like, that you enjoy, than your normal job. And then you just won't go into your job one day and gracefully say thank you, but I am now choosing to live a better life.
So true. Marty, how was your weekend, man? Hey, Jimmy, just checking in on you, pal. Do we have some audio, video issues with John?
Yeah, I think I'm looking at myself. I can barely see myself. I'm so blurry.
Marty, are we having issues with?
A little bit. It goes out a little bit, and then I don't know, John. You might just need to wipe your camera.
Yeah, I'm gonna remove John. Marty, I think that was on John's end, eh?
I think so. So.
Yeah, let's continue. So we'll let John sort that out here. The experience was actually quite. It was. I think if I was having a hard time, I'm thinking our viewers are having a hard time. So, Marty, how was your weekend, man?
It was good, man. It was chill. I didn't really do much. Just worked on some content. Worked out, hung out with some friends, and that's about it, man. I've been chilling.
That's
chill
good.
summer for me. Yeah.
Yeah. How's that Canadian cold? You got rid of it all?
Yeah, I'm good now. Honestly, man, Friday was the first day I felt like myself since
Yeah,
I got back from Canada. So
you were saying that.
yeah, man.
Dude,
But
I don't know, because I might have. So last night I went to bed. I had, you have that. Sometimes your ears like, why does my ear feel like it's plugged even though it's not plugged?
yeah, you had that?
I think I may have been experiencing that a little bit yesterday. So I went to bed, got up this morning, Marty. My side of the bed, dude, soaking wet.
Huh?
Yeah, like almost like battering a fever in some ways, right? So
Really? Oh
yeah,
my God.
I'm feel. Oh, there you go, John. Look good now. I feel great. Like my
Yeah.
ear doesn't feel all stuffed or nothing. But whatever my body was trying to say, Keith, get out of it. It was working itself out yesterday. But
Probably thinking too much, man.
is that what?
Yeah, yeah, thinking too hard.
Oh man, what do we got here? The LinkedIn user. I like weekends because then business based on people doesn't work, but I do. I like because then business based on people doesn't work. Okay, there you go. Yeah, is that it? There you go. Listen, the weekend to me, I think, as we talked before, Marty and John, as an entrepreneur, Saturday, Sunday, Friday, it's all the same. And I like John's analogy that, whether it's Friday, Saturday, you need to find a way to make the days the same. Get up at the same time. I will admit, John, that my body gets up the same time, but on the weekends, Marty Anderson, I do try to find a way to slow my pace down in the morning because my mornings are so structured for the show that I try to find a way to change my pace on the weekends, and it works for me. You know what I mean? And I know maybe it might not be the best thing, John, but it works for me.
No, that's what I do too.
100%,
Johnny.
100%, and keep. So I get up at the same time, but my morning, like when we're not doing this, my morning I still have activities, and there's still improvement activities for me because it's my time, but it's stuff that maybe I do a little different on those days. I allow my morning routine. I shouldn't say I hate the word routine because yes, it is routine and people misuse that word, but I let that morning flow kind of just, it evolves. So I'm not stuck doing so. Oh my God, I got to do that again. Rotate that. There's so many things that I can do in the morning that I want to do. That's what I'm doing, and when you wake up and you want to do it, that's the key right there. It's want versus what people need to get up and go sit in traffic to go to work. Well, if you start changing your needs with wants, life gets to be a much better place.
Definitely.
Quick.
Yeah.
I was gonna tell you too, Keith, what I did work on this weekend.
Yeah.
I'm getting a new lab in the place. Hopefully next week I should have a new lab.
How's it coming along there, pal?
It's good. I got some stuff for you. You're gonna love it. So actually, an idea for you that you should do.
Yeah. So I'm expecting over the coming weeks, Nation, you're gonna have some new visuals. I think Johnny's moving into a new studio. I think he's building some cigar type studio is what I'm alleging he's talking about. And Marty's building himself a new lab here. So I think
it's gonna be nice.
Y'all gonna be looking at some cool stuff coming up here in the coming week here on Mornings in the Lab. Myself, C. Marty Fit, John, and the only show, guys, that get you going in the morning, 8:00 Eastern time here in North America. And our purpose is to help you guys get going. Today, we're going to jump into a conversation about my story, what got me here. Marty and John are going to interview me. And this is something I rarely do. I don't talk much about myself. And I know I got people saying, Bilous, why don't you tell more about your story? I'm like, I don't know. I like telling everybody else's story. So we're going to dig into truth is I couldn't get a guest today. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll put myself on stage and we'll talk. So
honestly, man, I like when it's some. We got to do that sometimes. I like it.
No, I agree with you, Marty. I like the twosome, threesome stuff as well, which is obviously a good part of the conversation.
On that level, when it's just the three of us, we could pick some juicy shit to talk about too. Because obviously, a guest is. I'm kind of okay. What do we talk about with him or her? What's the three of us? We could really skirt.
You know what I want to see? I want to see a John Anderson rant. Like I want to see John just get ticked off and just go in.
I think that's beautiful. Let's set the record straight right now. I do not identify. I do not absorb. I won't even acknowledge negativity. So my rants, if you want to call it a rant, it's going to be a positive spin. It's never going to be diving into the normal rant. People love to dive into the negativity, into that gossip. That's my way is I just can't do that. That rots my inner core. It's my brothers. It just can't happen. It's like if I start, it's just like anything else. If I listen to that stuff, it changes.
Understood.
You know, it's like it comes down to your story.
I will tell you. Are we still having audio problems with John, Marty?
I'm good. I hear John.
Okay, good. Okay.
I can see myself now, so clearly the picture is better. Is the audio still good?
You guys, Marty, John, you guys keep going. I'm going to reset my browser here. I'll be back. Okay, you guys keep going.
Okay.
Perfect. So the whole thing, or this is the deal, you know, is that when people, unfortunately, in the world today, they accept so much, you know, whether it be somebody, they're just absorbing so much negative stuff. It's like, you know, you're in your inner monologue. Your story is like, what's your story? Like my story is that thank God I was a dumb little son of a bitch, because that's what allowed me to develop what I developed to become me. My story is thank God. Other people as well. You know, I live in this trade because of this happened to me. So they become a victim to all of the stuff that, you know, it's in that stuff. You got to look at stuff in our world. Either it's going to push you positive or negatively. There's one way or the next. So for me, I'm just really careful with it. And rants always have to be negative, I suppose. But what do you think? Generally speaking, would a rant consider to go down a negative rabbit hole?
A rant, it can be positive or negative. I don't see you just, you know, coming up here being negative, throwing out F-bombs. But I feel like, you know, some of the topics that we bring up, you know, I might strongly disagree with, you might strongly disagree with, and I would just like to see you just rip it apart and hit it with some facts, you know.
Yeah, in a debate setting, there's nothing better in a debate setting than bringing. You know, you can drive points home really hard with positivity or negativity, and it's a little. You got to practice. You got to be up to speed with driving points home with positivity, because we all know negativity gets 10 times the attention.
That's true, but I'm big on debunking the narratives, especially if it's a negative narrative. You know,
I'm brother. We are cut from the same cloth on that one. Hell yeah,
absolutely.
Hell yeah.
Keep it.
To fix our problems.
I think so. Did you fix my problem? I think so. So hey. I have John and Marty, you said, hey, I want to discuss some interesting crap on the table today. So I have a topic that might be intriguing for our audience this morning that I know you guys have no idea I'm going to pull on the table this morning. But I was going through my morning coffee this morning, gentlemen, and we know our audience. I shared with you yesterday, my audience, our audience. You know, we are sitting predominantly in that 25 to 54 male demographic. About 80% of you guys tuning in, listening to our show, 20% of you females that are in that demographic as well. But gents, I found a topic today that might be intriguing to our audience, especially to Anderson and Bilous. You ready? Men over 50 should try this exercise to improve their sex life.
Oh goodness, what is this?
Burpees. No,
Nova. Yes, Nova. We do care about the chat. We see you there, and we're calling for joining the show here this morning. So, gentlemen, I found a story this morning that says if you're over 50, men should try this exercise to improve their sex life. And what do you think the exercise is? See Marty fit.
Burpees.
Man, I don't know. If I was given that piece of advice, what do you said? What do I do to improve my sex? If I would say practice, go get to work, man.
So, according to Health Digest, men over 50 should try this exercise to improve their sex life. And it's cycling. Yeah.
Really?
Cycling helps your body and mind be better. Yeah. So cycling helps your body and mind be better prepared for sex. It says that, as explained by certified sports physiotherapist Josh Wright, by incorporating a ride here and a ride there, seniors, Johnny, seniors and nation, all of our 20s, Marty, because you know you're going to be at John and Keith's age in the future. John, I'm sorry, Marty, you know that you're going to be 50, 52 like Keith and John in the future here. So and we're not seniors yet, but we will be one day. But by incorporating a ride here and there into your routine, seniors can reduce the risk of chronic conditions, especially when it comes to having sex. It doesn't hurt that the muscles that you're using, your thighs and your glutes, are particularly useful when it comes to sexual activity. So if you're looking for something that is easy to do but not too difficult, riding a bike will be a great way to improve your sex life as you age.
Well, I see that piece of advice. It's kind of like mine. It says, go for a ride. That's what I said. Go for a ride and practice. Go for a
ride. But John's not suggesting what the ride is on. But John is suggesting.
Sounds good to me.
Go for. Well,
That's it.
Here's the
That's
thing.
exactly
Here's
it.
the thing. Can we all agree that sex is a want? We want. Why do you need some reason to go do it, for God's sake? You're not enjoying it, or you're doing it wrong.
That's it. So, but now, gentlemen, there are some folks that say, does cycling cause erectile dysfunction for aging men? And experts and research suggests that, sitting on a bike for a long period of time could put pressure on the perineum, the area between the anus and the scrotum. Yes, nation, we're talking about anuses and scrotums here at 22 minutes after the hour here on a Monday. That Marty's like, what?
Is that what that's called?
Yeah.
Is that what that little thing is called? I've heard it called a lot of things, but not what you said.
It's called the perineum, John Anderson. More particularly, Marty can't even believe we're having this conversation right now. But more particularly, the pudendal nerve and pudendal artery pressure can cause sensation-related situations, which might prevent things from working. But the good news is, John, if you're sitting on the bike, seat long, the symptoms are temporary. And you're going to be fine. So if you're going to go sit on the bike here for a while today, you're going to be just fine if your perineum gets all numb.
Hold on. What is it called again?
The perineum.
Oh,
perineum. It sounds like a new generation. It sounds like a new generation of kids. Generation X, generation perineum.
It's the perineum. Is that the new word for the morning show, gentlemen? The perineum?
Yo,
I didn't even know what that was. You could have given me
that.
a multiple choice, and I would have picked other every time. I had no clue what that was.
Oh my God.
That's good. I guess you learn something new every day.
There we go. So Seth Kuhn over on LinkedIn was talking about taint on Friday. And now we're talking about perineums here and we're not talking about the flowers, gentlemen. That's a perennial. No, gentlemen, if you're talking to your wife about the perennial, talk about the perennials of flowers. But if you're talking about a sore perineum, gentlemen, then your wife might not know what you're talking about. So make sure you're very clear whether it's the perennial or perineum. So nation, if you're looking to improve your sex life later in life, go get on the bike. That might help you out a little bit.
I'm gonna still stick with my original piece of advice. If you want looking for a better sex life practice, you skip this whole bicycle thing, skip the perineum, just in there and get your practice going. And that's what's going to help.
Why do I want to see John Anderson on a bike one day? Do you? No. Nope. Oh my God. We are off the rails here this morning, 25 minutes after our first hour here on the show today, getting into conversations about what men need to do to help themselves have a healthier sex life in life. And we're just talking about jumping on the bike, or as John Anderson would say, just jump on something so you can improve your sex life along the way.
I didn't say something. I didn't say something. That was not part of my deal. You didn't say something. You want better sex life? No, didn't say something. Something could turn into, going to ride something. That's not what my advice was.
That's what it sounded like.
You did not say that. No. Yeah. No, you just said go and have sex. You're like, no, just go and have sex and practice. Get off the bike. Don't even get on the bike. You're saying, Anderson. Hey, it's funny. What did our friends say on Thursday? Who was our guest on Thursday? And he talked about how he's like, yes, I like to end my day in bed with my wife and hang out and just spend some time. And he's like, it's not about sex. It's just about hanging out with my wife. So there you go, nation. So good morning, Adam Confidential. Thanks for jumping in with some laughter this morning. We are having a good time here to kick the day off here this morning in the lab. We're coming up in a few moments. We're going to get into my story, how I overcame failure. Yeah, failure. I failed a lot of times, guys. It's funny because all you hear about is that, oh yeah, I'm now a gazillionaire. Oh yeah, how many times did you miss the shot before you became a gazillionaire? So we're going to get into that conversation in a few moments. We are also going to get into the accountability check-in, the C Marty Fit Tip, and we're going to talk about the polls throughout the week as well. So, gentlemen, why don't we do that? Let's jump into the polls. We have been working hard at getting some activity on our polls across the platforms, LinkedIn, Threads, X, and so forth. And I want to bring the polls up from last week. Every week we got polls running throughout the week. So last week, guys, we had a poll on Monday, which was, what's your go-to health food? And we threw 4 options on the table. John, Marty, we threw greens, berries, fish, and nuts. What do you think our listeners said was their go-to health food out of the 4? Greens, berries, fish, or nuts and seeds? Number 1, what do you guys think it was?
Greens.
I'm going to have to say greens. They went to the greens.
It's true. Yeah. Almost 40% said that we all like to have our greens. Second was berries. And Marty, third was fish, man, salmon. And Johnny, I know you're the big proponent of snacks with nuts and seeds, but a lot of people, in our survey, were reluctant to adopt the nuts and seeds. But I like your suggestion, John. If you're going throughout your day and you're finding yourself hungry, just grab yourself a handful of almonds and throw them in your gut and move forward. Hey, John?
100%. And obviously, my advice is really about helping people's quality of life, stable energy. But when people think, what do I need to eat to be healthy? Their mind's probably not eating enough of it.
Yeah. And
they're probably all thinking, shit, I'm not eating my greens, so I better pick the greens on this list, which is very, very common. It makes a lot of sense why that would have been, because that's why I picked it. I put myself, person who's not really on top of their diet.
And greens means vegetables, you guys. I had a client pull out a green St. Patrick's Day Kit Kat bar out of her pocket after a training session. I almost lost my mind. She was like, but it's green. So when we say green, we mean vegetables. Just true story.
Nope.
Oh, you're not talking about the Canadian
image of the real green, or the word green there, if I've ever seen it. Holy Toledo.
That's it.
Crazy.
That's it. Oh, man. Oh, you're not talking about the Canadian green, Marty, the legalized Canadian green. You go down the store and buy your Canadian green cannabis. There's lots of that here in this country. So
nope.
We're not talking about your go-to health food here, being cannabis here, nation. All right. We also asked the question of our audience, what helps you bounce back from failure the most? And we put 4 options on the table, guys, which was support from others, personal reflection, learning new skills, or setting new goals. Marty, what do you think was the number 1 technique that helped our listeners bounce back from failure the most? New goals, support, personal, or learning new skills?
Personal.
Yeah, John, what do you think?
I think they pick goals. I think because in their minds they're thinking, I missed this one, better set another one. That's what I'm thinking they said.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, most of our audience said, and I think that's where I would fall as well, John. Which is okay if I think immediately I go, okay, I failed that. I got to set a new goal, right? So our nation, our audience was like, nah. When I'm failing, I'm not looking for support from others. I'm not reflecting on my own mirror. I'm just setting a new goal and I'm going after it. So maybe that's a symptom of who our audience is, or what people think, John.
Well, here's an interesting thought. You have that goal. You have a failure. Does the goal have to change, or does your path to the goal have to? The goal is out there and it's sitting out there, and I'm going to have tons of failures trying to get there. But my failure tells me, okay, you need to go take a slight step to the left and try again. And it's the path to the goal I'm constantly changing, not the goal.
Yes. That's a good one, actually. We got some more comments coming from the feed this morning. Adam Confidential. Good morning, my friend. Thanks for jumping in this morning. Little Doughboy, top of the morning. Bats Krazy, what's up? Little Doughboy, some personal reflection. And Johnny, Marty, we got the Gear Jammer from Oklahoma. Thanks for joining us here this morning. I'm glad you guys are all jumping in here this morning. And it looks like we have some content here on the horizontal feed. Of course, we have this young man. The future is here. Good to see you there this morning, Enzo.
What's up, Enzo?
Good to have you join the show. Biology
Enzo,
lesson
up,
at 12:30 this morning. And I agree, Enzo. Yeah, Marty does sound a little different. So I appreciate that comment. I'm not sure what
is it fixed. Is it fixed now?
That's better. Yes, 100% it is. Thank you so much. That's good. IT's tech support from Enzo in the future. And yeah, so Enzo talks about the Canadians cheating in the Olympics. Do we want to talk about this? So John, Marty, have you guys heard about the guys flying a drone over the soccer team at the Olympics?
Yeah, I heard about that.
What the hell is that all about?
He's trying to get the gold, man, by any means necessary.
Dude, that is just nasty. Let's just go fly a drone over a soccer pitch to go see if we can go learn about the competition. That is just, oh, hey, John, nobody's going to catch me flying the drone over the soccer pitch. Like, could you imagine that conversation? Like, hey, John, I'm going to go fly a drone. And you're going to look at me going, do you think somebody will see you? Oh, no, nobody's going to see you flying the drone. Like, who missed out that memo?
What? It's, it's coming down to, and you see this sign now. You see basically signs that say no drone zone. We're actually like coming into this world where we're being told where we can put those things in flight. And, when it comes down to it, I guess it comes down to the helping people make the proper decision when it comes to using
is that what it is?
It's the world is changing, man.
I'm close to DC.
Gracious.
So in a certain mile radius, you can't fly any drones.
Yeah.
So I think it might be like a 30 or 40 mile radius. It might be more than that. But like, if you tried to fly a drone right now outside of my building, you can't do that. So.
Yeah, you can't fly a drone anywhere where you live, I'm sure, Marty, because right where you live, I'm sure you are actually in the zone of the no zone drone, right? So, exactly. Yes, and so I know we were cheating against the U.S. Coaching staff's been banned for a minimum of 1 year.
That's crazy.
They've been deducted. It's just ridiculous, actually.
It's not worth it.
Speaking of crazy, I know we're not a political show, but I just feel like I have to throw things out there every now and then. Yeah. Hey, sorry to all my friends in Venezuela. I know y'all woke up this morning hoping for democracy, but y'all woke up going, oh, yeah, we're under an autocratic dictator again. I don't know what to say to all that BS because, it's just, yeah. Anyways, there's my 20-second rant on what's happening in Venezuela. Thanks, little boy. Love what you guys are doing. I appreciate that. I'm just going to stay away from that this morning. I only bring it up, John, because I was talking to somebody on the feed yesterday who was like, hey, man, I hope that we're going to pivot to some democracy in Venezuela. I'm like, yeah, me too. And then I woke up this morning and that just has not happened. So,
well, I mean,
that didn't happen
because what you said was about all you could say,
Yeah.
I was like, where are you going to go with that one other than, exactly what
I'm just sitting, Johnny, I'm just sitting here in Canada being the polite Canadian going, oh, I'm just fearful for my friends in Venezuela. It just sucks, man. Speaking of, I also saw something this morning too. Santorini, Greece. There's 14,000 residents in Santorini, Greece, right? So this weekend on Sunday, yesterday, 4 cruise ships showed up at the same time. 17,000 people descended on Santorini, displacing the 14,000 residents. Their mayor said, everybody stay inside. Could you imagine, Johnny or Marty? Oh, yeah, hey, San Diegoans, we got 1 million people showing up in San Diego today. You all got to stay inside for all the tourists. Isn't that just bizarre and messed right up?
That's insane.
What is the primary motivation? What's the primary motivation?
Tourism, right? So it's like, hey, tourism, let's all show up to Santorini and enjoy some time. But then,
they just need the money. Residents get out of there so they can be first in line to spend some money because our mini economy needs this.
That's what it sounds like.
Let them
Yeah. So they're banning tourists. They're going to say, hey,
it almost sounds,
we're going to change tourism.
When I first said that, I was like, it almost sounded like it reminded me like this little island of where it was this pure bloodline. Oh God, the showed up. Lock yourself at home. Let's keep our bloodline pure.
That's exactly it.
That's
exactly. Good morning, Dustin. Top of the morning to you as well, my friend. Thanks for joining in on the show. I appreciate your comments here. Let's see what we got in the horizontal here. We got Enzo coming in with John. I have to say, I haven't known you long, but I have been following you since I heard about you. Love your content and work you do. Always a great watch, mate. So, Anderson, you have a fan in the future. So again, you hear me say it all the time. If you're looking for future advice, you go knock on our friend's door there, Enzo, in the future. So, hey, Jimmy. I think it's time that I should pivot the dialogue to this little part in the show. Now I'm going to keep going into the polls. What the hell? I stay in the polls here. So, guys, what's the biggest challenge to staying fit and motivated while working from home? What do you think everybody said, John? Do you think that people complained that they had no space? Or Marty, do you think that they wanted to avoid distractions? The number one reason that people could not work out from home, what do you guys think it was? Finding workout time, staying disciplined, limited space, or avoiding distractions?
Distractions.
I'm going to think they might be jumping on discipline, because obviously it takes discipline and avoiding distractions kind of fit together.
I say distractions.
Yeah. Marty?
Distractions.
Yeah. So the biggest response, guys, was from limited space equipment. Now, I'm going to suggest that that's just an excuse, right? 100%. So 3/4 of our respondents.
Yeah, 100%. I so agree with that. You need, if you can literally lay your butt down on the ground on your stomach, you could do push-ups.
Yeah.
All you need is you can stand and do body weight squats. There's so many ways. If you want to break a sweat, you can break a sweat. So when it comes down to it, I get it. At home is the toughest place to do it. It's better to go to an environment where other people are doing it. But if you really want to get it done, it's a choice. You just got to do it.
Yeah, it's so true. Well, I've seen your stuff, John. You're not afraid to jump out and do a burpee in the middle of anywhere. And Marty, I know you're not afraid to do a push up, anywhere. It's just this idea of using our body to put it into motion, right, guys? And recognizing that putting your body into motion is the first step, right? That's what it's all about, right? So
yes,
yeah.
And here's the thing: people thinking, "Oh, I don't have the space." They're coming up with an excuse. What they need to think of is, 3 minutes after starting, I'm going to feel great. Look at the paycheck. It's 3 minutes away. People think, oh my God, I don't want to do all this. I don't want to do that. And of course, but that's understandable. But thinking, man, it might even be 2 minutes away. I'm 2 minutes away from feeling good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had John St. Pierre join us on Wednesday, gentlemen. He was a gentleman that started his company from zero, sold it for $100 million, then lost his job. Remember, John St. Pierre joined us? And we talked about what's the biggest fear in entrepreneurship. And we threw the question out to our audience, which was financial failure, burnout, losing work-life harmony, and not finding customers. And I'll just throw this one out there. 100% of our respondents all check the box on financial failure. So the biggest fear that's preventing people from moving out, John, Marty, is the fear of financial failure. How would you guys acknowledge that?
Oh man, that's totally understandable. When it comes to being in uncomfortable spots. But here's the thing you remember is that fear about having financial problems, that's what's going to make you or allow you, however you want to say it, to do the stuff, become successful in this new arena. That pit in your stomach will get you off the couch.
Yes.
That pit in your stomach will get you out of bed. So choosing to be uncomfortable might be one of the biggest tools a person has. Now, granted, is it scary to think that you're going to be financially not going to be able to take care of responsibilities financially? Of course. That's why you'll do what you need to do to find the way. And if that's too big of a step, go back to what I said in the show. Pick an hour every day and start committing it to something. Pretty soon that something is going to blossom to where you can make a more of a smooth transition.
Yeah, so true. So true. We got a great comment coming in from our friend Robert J. Hunt, our accountability expert, coming in with no excuses. Own it. In other words, no excuse, not, especially on a Monday, right, Robert? Get going, get the day started, and own what you have in front of you. and it's the best thing to do to get your week started. Thursday, gentlemen, we jumped into a conversation on how confident are you in your leg workout routine. We all know that legs are the foundation to, keep our body moving forward. The biggest, muscle groups in our body, our thighs, our glutes, our hamstrings, and all that. And the question we threw on the table, gentlemen, was how confident are you in the leg routine? Super, pretty, not, and need guidance. Gents, 67% of our audience is very confident in their leg routines, which would mean, everybody, then get your legs going today.
I agree.
Yeah, that means you're that confident. That means that we should never have any issues.
That's it. And then last question, guys. On Friday, we put.
Wait, hold on. Before we leave the leg topic, but when you're working out the legs, don't forget to work that little spot we were talking about earlier.
The perineum.
Yeah, because this, you might want to finish off your leg workout with some practice.
Yes.
And we're practicing. That's a good finisher for a leg workout. Go for a ride. We're talking about tip. That's what we're talking about here. That's a good finish to the leg workout. Look at it like if you're doing it from home, there's another benefit. Shit, I just wipe out these squats real quick so I can. I want to do. There we go.
Nothing but tips this morning here in the lab.
Hey, this is why I sit back as the young guy and I just listen to the older guys teach me.
So Marty, that's why I love our audience, man, because I was, as you guys know, I shared with you yesterday, I spent the last number of days with Melissa just digging into our audience and our demographics and who our ideal customer profile is. And I was looking at it yesterday, Marty, and I shared it with you guys. Like, Marty, you're right in the middle, man. And what's great is that that what's coming in front of you is me and Johnny. And you're like, oh, man, do I got to grow up to be like these two yahoos?
I hope to be better than you guys.
And that's how it should be. That's exactly how it should be. If you weren't thinking that way, we'd have to realign your sights, bro.
You're right.
And you got 2 decades.
Yeah.
Decades, a lot of time. You play that right, you should be whooping the hell out of both.
That's my goal.
Exactly it. So all of our listeners that are tuning in Marty's demographic, and I know there's plenty of you in your 25, 30-year-old, your 40s. Guys, you do not want to grow up to be like Keith and John. You want to grow up to be better than Keith and John. So we're going to share our mistakes and our love and our journey throughout the way, so you guys can have a different journey in life. And then, guys, on the Friday, and Jimmy, we're going to jump into the accountability check-in here in a couple moments before we get into our big topic of the day. But Friday, gentlemen, the last quote of the week last week was, "What helps you be your best self every day?" And the choices we gave our audience was making the most of your time, building good habits, staying super focused, or embracing the unexpected. And John, you're going to love this one. What do you think was number one that folks chose? Most of the time, habit.
If I'm going to love it, it's got to be habit.
Boom.
I don't even need you to read it again. If I'm going to love it, it's going to be habit, because I am one big habitual machine.
That's it. So most of our audience chose that building good habits, they believe, is the foundation of success. And I'll tell you, yes, Dina Isle, I am Canadian. Thank you. I am the dude in the middle, so I am the Canadian guy. Yeah, because I'm just kind enough. I'm just the kind and polite guy. But John is right, nation. The best way to get yourself going and the best way to, have the best self every day is to create good habits. I can tell you tune into the show every single day, you are going to continually hear about good habits. We're going to help you perpetuate good habits, and we're going to help you get on with some good habits throughout your day. And I got a question here from you guys. Dustin, I'm just making sure that it's appropriate. So I'm more on the skinny athletic side. Marty, Johnny, I walk about 4 to 5 miles a day average. How many push-ups and sit-ups would you recommend to become bigger with fast results? Gents.
Oh, man, that's right. First off, the activity you're doing sounds great. It's you're looking to the east for your answer, but you need to turn about face and look to the west. It's not about what more or less activity. It's about what you need to eat to get that result you're looking for on top of the activity you're currently doing.
Yeah.
So you're asking a question about more exercise when you should be asking a question about what to eat.
That's a very good point, Marty.
Absolutely. And once you get the eating figured out, well, to be specific with the eating, you know, I look at protein specifically and complex carbs. You know, yeah, that's going to be your bread and butter right there. And then as far as the activity, you know, if you're trying to put on muscle, I'd maybe shorten the walk, maybe, you know, 2 miles instead of 4 or 5, and then start with 100 push-ups a day. Break them up, 5 sets of 20. When that gets easy, bump it to 200. Once it gets to 200, let's hit the weight room. Let's get some resistance training in. So I would just take it in baby steps, but I would do a little less of walking, a little more focus on nutrition, and start with push-ups.
Yeah.
With 100 push-ups a day, I'm sorry.
That's great advice, great advice. And of course, we have Shello coming with grandfather's jacked. So no, I'm not jacked, and no, Johnny's not a grandpa. So I'm not who you're referring to on the show here this morning.
I'm a grandfather. Hold the show. I'm a grandfather.
Oh, yes, you are a grandpa. Yes, you are a grandpa.
Listen, brother. What are you talking about? Come on, baby. Don't take that away.
Yeah, I give you that.
I forgot you were a grandpa.
I was like, league the best club on the planet, which is grandfathers, but we're gonna be absolutely just savage, ripped grandfathers. That's what it's like.
I love it.
That is awesome. Yeah, absolutely. I forgot you were a grandpa. We're gonna have to talk about grandpa life with John Anderson on some future shows and what that's all like. And I know you have a couple. You have 2 daughters, hey Johnny?
3.
You have 3. Yeah. There you go. You know, I do want to, if we have some time this morning, I want to lean into a topic I found on LinkedIn this morning around females and female empowerment and so forth. Because I got a daughter. You know, Marty doesn't have. I got 2 daughters, frankly. I know Marty doesn't have any kids yet, but I did see an awesome post this morning about female empowerment that if we have some time, I want to bring that up on the show here a little bit later today. But before we do that, guys, and before we get into the big conversation around how I went from here to here, and wow, I can't believe we're so far into the show already this morning. Jesus. It is moving. Yeah, we're going to get into this part in the show. Yes, Grandpa can still steal all the chicks. I suspect that is... Yeah, I think that there's something to be said for that. You're making Grandpa feel good this morning here on the show here. So, but Jimmy, let's do this, man. Let's pull this on to the show here. Yep. I'm going to pull the guys off. Johnny, time for you to go to the restroom if you got to go, pal. All right, there we go. Boom. If you are new to the show, this is where I give you something to think about. I give you something to consider to get your day started. And we call this the accountability check-in. Here we're going to go. All right, so stop listening to all the shoulding out there. Everyone says you should do this, you should do that, do this, do that. But what works for one always doesn't work for somebody else. The only things that you should do, the only things you should do, listen to your own instincts. Don't lose yourself along the way. Be open-minded, yes, but make your own decisions. Listen to others, take suggestions, but don't do something because they said you should do it. Remember, your journey, Marty's journey, John's journey, my journey, it's unique. Your brand, what you're building is a reflection upon you, your business, your rules. So if you're going to get up and worry about what you should do and what somebody says you should do, you're going to should yourself into a corner and not know how to get out of it. So I would invite you to stop listening to all the should this, should that. Wipe should out of your dictionary and recognize that you could, you can, and you will. I can, I will, I do. And you'll find some success. Stop the shooting. Stop listening to all the shooters out there and get yourself moving. That's the accountability check-in this morning here in the lab. Oh, Johnny's back. Good job, my friend. Wow. All right. So that's our accountability check-in, where we get into content that helps you guys get your day started and get your day moving. And gents, I think it's at this point in the show that we are going to get into the feature discussion around how what do we got here in the private chat here? Yeah, good here. Okay, good. Awesome. All right. So Johnny, Marty, we're going to get into the chat here today. The big topic around how I overcame failure and built a multi-million-dollar company and what that journey was like along the way. So where shall we start?
Well, I think right out of the gate, first off, most people think about building a company, and then there's so this really works for all the above. This question here is to build anything, you're going to have to fail a lot, and you got to understand that you're going to fail a lot. But now when you're talking about having a vision like building a $50 million company, talk to the viewers about how comfortable you had to become with the idea that failure was a part of the process. And if you weren't failing repeatedly, we're not getting close to that massive goal of a $50 million company. Because most people, that's kind of it's almost too far to even imagine for many people. But if you could help them understand the path, which is repeated failures, because if they can own that path, it's kind of the stars the limits.
Yeah, it's so true, John. So when I started out on the journey, the journey wasn't to let's go build ourselves a 50, 100, 20, $30 million company. No, the journey was just let's go build a company. Let's have some fun doing it. And I wanted to be in business. I wanted to be my own person. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to start a business. So, when we started, ICUC at the time, gentlemen, it did not start at ICUC. And I think that's what often many people forget, John and Marty, is like when Netflix started, Netflix wasn't what it was today, right? A lot of companies, what they start with don't end up being what they are. So when I started my first company, it was not a social media management company. As a matter of fact, the first company I started at and failed at, guys, was a mobile data company that was like when cell phones and mobile devices were on the planet. I was like, I'm going to become a mobile data consultant. I'm going to help companies, bring mobile devices in, manage them and distribute them and work with them. And I failed at that miserably. Wah, 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 wah.
But right there, explain how that failure basically, helped your journey. If you hadn't failed at that, something may not have gone right for you to do what you did.
Yeah, it's true, John, because that failure helped me pivot so that wasn't working. And I was working myself through it and it wasn't working. And I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I'm having a hard time finding a model with this. So as we continued the journey, I had my sleeves rolled up. The internet was a relatively new thing at the time, and recognized that, because I was, in the mobile phone industry, recognized that people were using the mobile phones to communicate and interact and engage and so forth. So we made a pivot, and I created a company called Captive Interactive. And it was a company, gentlemen, that took mobile devices, took environments around Canada here in Winnipeg where I live, and we created these interactive chat rooms. So we took nightclubs, we took screens, and we put screens in nightclubs, and we enabled people to text screens and create these chat room text environments. Now you're both sitting there saying, what? Yeah, and believe me, at the time I was like, I don't know what, but the ambition was to set up an advertising supported network of screens across clubs and venues around North America, and give users the ability to engage with their other users and have conversations and flirt and chat along the way. While I was doing that, though, John and Marty, it became apparent that wasn't working either. And while we were working at it, learning about how to monetize that, and I'll never forget a conversation I had with a first customer at the time. And I think many of us, go into business situations thinking that we're all just going to own the world instantly. And I remember sitting in front of this guy, and I'm like, yeah, here's my plan. He looks at me, that's not going to work. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, how are you going to distribute your product across here and here and here? And how are you going to scale it? And he quickly was talking circles around my head. And I was like, yeah, that's not going to work very well. So again, went home, John, went back, Marty, and hit the drawing board and started thinking about how I could take his objections and turn them into opportunities. The next night, though, I was in one of my clubs, and you talk about thinking what you're building compared to what you're actually building. It happened that night. I was in one of my clubs. I was building what I thought I was building was a text-to-screen experience. And one of my club owners, one of my customers at the time was like, say, Keith, this isn't going to work because, you know, we got customers being offended by the content. You need to stay home and you need to manage the content before it goes up on the screen. So I did. I stayed home the next day, started managing the content. And what I mean by that, guys, is that we were giving people the ability to use their mobile phones to send text messages and images to the screens in the clubs. So you can flirt with your friends, interact with girls or boys in the club. We're talking pre-Facebook. We're talking pre-YouTube, pre-Twitter. Yeah, I'm dating myself, guys. So we were giving humans the ability to use their phones to text significant others or people in the clubs. While we were doing that, they'll quickly recognize that there was bad stuff showing up on the screens, and I wasn't going to monetize bad stuff showing up on the screens, just like brands today are saying, John, I don't want to have my ad associated with your bad content on your website. So the next day, guys, I stayed home. And the next day, I went and I managed and moderated the content before it went up on screen. That is when the business light came on, because we now were solving a legitimate problem. And I raise this because the common theme I find when I'm talking to entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, Marty and John, is they're not solving a problem. If you solve a problem, you solve it repeatedly, you have a great business. If you can't solve a problem, you're going to struggle to build a great business. So when I recognized that we were solving a problem, and the problem we were solving was that we were moderating the negative content, John and Marty, so that we can display the appropriate content next to the brand's content on the screens. No different than what's happening across X or Facebook or, you know, the content moderation world that we live in today. So I stayed home that next day and moderated content, and got another customer out of that whole situation. It was a broadcaster in Ireland, and they were running text on screens, just like, you know, people watching TV shows, and there was text on screen, and they needed somebody to stay at home in front of their computer and moderate the content before it showed up on the screen. So we started doing it. That client led to another client, led to another client, and Bob's your uncle. And you've heard me say this before, Marty, John, minimal viable customer. I don't know if I'd focus so much on the minimal viable product as I would focus more on a minimal viable customer. Entrepreneurs, solopreneurs listening to me right now, stop perfecting your product. Like, actually, stop. Go find a customer who you think can use your product, sell it to them or give it to them, and then begin perfecting it. Then begin continuing to solve that problem for that customer. Because if you can solve that problem for that one customer, you're going to solve it for another one and another one and another one. And before you know it, you're going to have a very sustainable business.
One thing I want to jump back real quick. Sorry to interrupt, but check this out. One of the things that you said in this thing is so powerful. Mm-hmm. Punch you in the gut. Said, this isn't going to work. Had that not happened, you would not have gone home, did what you did, and restructured and found this, you know, this more streamlined approach, which then scaled out perfectly. So, I mean, I guess redirect your path in a way you need. Let's say that customer had said, oh, this is great. You'd have gone deeper down a path. It wasn't going to work.
Yes. It was a moment of reflection, John, that I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. So I need to go do something about this. Right. So it was looking in the mirror. It was recognizing that things weren't working and that we had to make a pivot. Right. And often I think entrepreneurs, John, are reluctant to make that pivot. And life's about pivots, right? Life's about recognizing that this isn't working. I got to do something different. Right. But it's putting the time into recognizing that it's not going to work before you're going to make the pivot, and then have the courage to make the pivot and do it. Right. So it was during that moment with my customer and in those spaces that things aren't working. I got to do something about it, or else this thing's going to fail. Right. So it was finding the ability to recognize it. But as I said, once we found that one customer who was like, yeah, I see the problem you guys are solving. We then went, John, and we just jumped into it and went hard, right? And found that opportunity and went after it over and over and over and over and over, right? So I'm just going to get you guys off this one screen here because I'm having some problems with my audio here, and I'm going to do this here. Boom. There we go there. Good. Awesome. Okay. You guys hear me okay here?
Yeah, yeah. I think you have a delay in the audio.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I think you have a delay in the audio, or you'd had one.
I'm good now, right?
Yeah.
Good.
You good?
Because it's gone now. The delay is gone now, which is perfect. Because before it was a couple seconds.
I wanted to chime
Jimmy,
in.
you can hear me.
I wanted to chime.
Please.
Okay. Keith. So okay. Got kicked in the butt by that one customer. You got kicked in the butt by that one customer. Made some adjustments. You went back in the lab. Now made some adjustments. Let's stay on this theme of getting punched in the gut. Let's stay on this theme of getting. What was that next level of getting punched in the gut? What was that next level of getting punched in the gut? I talked to you and Maurice about clients. You had to make some adjustments there. You had to make some adjustments there. What's that next level? So what's that next level getting punched in the gut look like for you at this point?
It was it was recognizing that I had to get up, right, and recognizing that if I didn't get up, I wasn't going to move forward. So it was having the courage to fire clients. It was having the courage to embrace new clients. And Marty, it was this whole idea of just never giving up, right, and always going, right, and knocking on doors, putting in the calls. We were early. We had a first mover advantage in this whole situation. So we were early. We were aggressive at it. But it was getting punched in the gut, owning it, appreciating it, and then getting up and getting going again. Right. And that was really what that was all about. Right. And it was, I know easier said than done, but I recall sitting in a parking lot with a client at the time and firing the client because things weren't working with ourselves and or the client. And it was a big client at the time, Marty, but we had to fire the client, right? Or else we weren't going to move forward. So, but it's having that kind of courage, right? So, we started ICUC from scratch. I made the choice to bootstrap it. And that's something that I know when we talked to John St. Pierre last week, there's this conversation of, I got to go raise money. Nah, I don't think you do. Go and start something from scratch. Go and find that minimal viable customer. Go reinvest that profit back into the business. Be persistent, put the work in, and just keep going, and then reinvest back into the business, right? We failed often. Right? We failed often. And anybody that always sees the end results don't see the failures along the way. Right? Marty, it's funny because I know when you and I talked when you were here in Winnipeg last week and you landed in Maryland and I was laughing with Maurice, I can't count how many times I would land off an airplane where we had customer fires or we had situations where like, oh my God, every time I get on an airplane, there's shat going sideways. Because when you're starting a business, you're just figuring stuff out. Right. So there's many times, Marty, when you land the airplane, you open up your BlackBerry at the time. You're like, oh, my God, here's this customer figuring stuff out. Here's this customer failing. But it was just figuring out how to learn and adapt. Right. Learn and adapt and always move forward. And then what I also did at the time, gentlemen, early on in my days, and we're seeing this now with a lot of personal branding, is I leaned on personal branding heavy. I recognized that when I was building ICUC at the time, a brand new company in a brand new space, that nobody was going to know what it was, or nobody was going to know what the service was. So I needed to put that service, I needed to put that offering on my back, and I needed to become the face of it. So, if there's entrepreneurs right now listening to this story, you think you got a great company, you got a great product, you got a great service, put yourself out there first. Build the company on the backs of your own brand. John Anderson, C. Marty Fit, Keith Bilous, right? The customers are buying from you, John. The customers are buying from you, Marty.
Yeah.
The customers are buying from me. Yeah, they're eventually going to buy from BAPL, but they're buying from Keith, from Marty, from John. So entrepreneur, you're all sitting back thinking you got to get the perfect website. You got to get all your perfect landing page. You got to get all your stuff. No, just go talk to somebody and sell them something.
Well, yeah, brother, you said something that was so powerful. Well, yeah, brother, you said something that was so powerful, and it was you got to have, and it was you got to solve a problem.
Yes.
And when you have a problem that you can solve, and especially, a lot of times people think, well, why am I qualified to start a business? Well, if you found a solution to a problem that others can use, guess what? You're qualified.
Yes. It's as simple as that.
So talk a little bit about that. Yeah.
I think the moment you do find a problem to solve, John, you do become the expert, right? Because if somebody else hasn't solved that problem, you're already ahead of them. And then if you repeat it again and again and again, you're already ahead of that person, right? So find a problem and solve it and then repeat it over and over and over. Because John, you and I and Marty have talked so many times, most humans have the most difficult time just to start. So if you can start and then solve the problem, you are already ahead of everybody else. So if you're listening to this show right now and you're thinking, I got this problem I want to solve, then go solve it. Just go. Make it a side hustle. Go leave work early today and go solve the problem, because you're already going to be ahead of somebody who's thinking about solving it but doesn't know how to solve it, or more importantly, John, is scared just to get started. I don't want to fail.
That's right.
I don't want to try because I'm going to fail. No, go try. Go try. Right. So if the moment you've identified a problem, I cannot encourage you enough to go and solve it, because somebody will pay you over and over and over to solve that problem. And that's the key to entrepreneurship. Right. And I think that too many times people try to create businesses that there's no problem to be solved. For example, this show and what we're creating in the lab, we're solving a problem. People have a hard time getting their day started. People have a hard time creating consistent habits. People have a hard time being held accountable. So what we're offering up here, John and Marty, is, hey, come join us every single morning at 8 a.m. We will help you get yourself moving. We're going to give you the mental, physical, emotional support to get through your day and help you solve the problem, which is, I can't get started. Or, John, I don't know how to be an entrepreneur. Go solve a problem. Right? We got Alfredo jumping in here saying, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but the economy is seriously prohibitive now in terms of entrepreneurship. I don't agree with that, Alfredo Soup. I don't agree with that at all, actually. Johnny.
I was the idea of people wrapping their brains around that. I was just going to say the idea I'm an expert. I solved this problem. Just pivot a little bit. Think of it like this is. I solve the problem. People are very interested in how other people have solved the problem. If you're having a hard time calling yourself an expert to get started, don't say, look, this is how I did it. And if you'd like to learn, I'll be happy to show you.
Yes. That's exactly it.
And I was going to say there's different ways to solve the problem. Different ways to solve the problem as well. Like you might have style or a certain training style, nutrition recommendations and recommendations, and it might be different for me. There's always more than one way. You don't have to just do it one way.
Got his business Key 50 million.
Got his business to 50 million. Someone else got their business
different way than someone else got their business.
They still solve problems and got to that goal. They still solve problems and got to that goal.
Yeah, the key really is finding a problem to solve, and then continuing on with it. I know there's an echo there, guys. Man, sorry for the audio. Sorry for the audio challenge for this morning, guys. We're just it must be on my side here, because I don't think it's happening on John and Marty's side here. So I'm just gonna get better at that. Is the echo gone there, Jimmy? I hope it is. So again, the key is solving a problem. But I want to get to the journey of how I ended up selling the business. I know that's often what people get quite curious about. So Keith, how did you end up selling the company? We recognized. So here's the reality. When Jobs got on stage in 2007 and said, here's the iPhone, BlackBerry was our biggest customer at the time. Research and Motion was our biggest customer at the time. I'm a tech nerd. I was paying attention to what was happening in the world in the marketplace. And I said to my partner at the time, I said, hey, you know what? Our books look great. And there's a tip for you, nation. Our books were great. So if you're running a business right now and your books are looking great and the future looks great, that's the time you might want to consider seeing if somebody might want to buy your business. Right? Your numbers look good. Your future looks good. Your I's are dotted. Your T's are crossed. Go call a broker. Because John, Marty, all you need is 2 people to say, I want to buy your business. And you're off to the races. Yeah. Because the moment I say I have this and John's like, oh, I want that. And Marty's like, no, I want that. Well, then you step back and you say, hey, all right, what are you guys going to pay for it? Right. So 07 happened. Jobs came and announced the iPhone. And I said to OGG, Marty at the time, saying, hey, you know what? We should go look at see what somebody would offer us for our business. And I got to tell you, gents, and I'll get into the brass tacks here. So I come from a family that mom and dad worked their ass off. Right. It was nobody had gold nuggets. It was, it was mom and dad, many jobs to help put kids through school and help raise their children. And I was one of them. So I was not raised with the silver spoon, was not raised with the gold spoon, had to work for everything. So at the time, I said to Maurice, my partner, I said, hey, we should go see if somebody will buy our company. And I recall, John and Marty, Maurice and I getting on a plane and flying off to Denver and somebody saying, hey, we'll give you $1 million for your company. And at the time, you're like, holy, that's $1 million. You're like, that's a lot of money, right? But then you look at your books and you look at your business and you recognize that, oh, that's actually not a lot of money compared to what we're making. So now the lights go on that, wow, we got something quite substantial here that somebody wants. And we said no. So you're like, okay, I was raised with not a silver spoon or a gold spoon. We're going to get on the airplane and fly back and keep doing our thing, even though somebody thinks we're worth $1 million. Life-changing money for many, right? But we said no. We went back to work and and had our broker, continue his, and had a broker continue his journey of finding us a buyer. I then remember, Marty, John, ending up in Boston. A competitor of ours wanted to buy our company. And I remember going into his office and him showing us his books. I'm sorry, him saying, hey, we're looking at buying your company. We said, okay, let's have a look at it. And we kind of shared each other's books. And then the OGG and I left the meeting, Marty. And I said to him, I said, oh, no, we should be buying them, not them buying us, because we're actually bigger than them. So it's one of those realization moments of, wow, we're actually bigger than they are. We should be buying them, not going to buy us. So we said no, got on the airplane, flew back to Canada and went back to work. There was a pivotal moment during the journey of trying to sell our business where we both, and again, nation, if you're tuning in as an entrepreneur and you have a business partner, and John and Marty, hear me clearly, we both were trying to do the same thing at the same time. We both were trying to sell the business. It was a mistake. Why? Because we both were trying to do something and the business started to not keep growing because we were trying to sell it. So I remember the conversation with OGG. He's like, Keith, you need to focus on that way. I'm going to focus on this. You keep driving revenue in, you keep driving profit in so that we have something healthy to sell. So I remember the conversation and I'm like, all right. I went and focused, gentlemen, on just continuing to grow the business, drive revenue in, focus on the processes, grow. While OGG managed the back of the house. What's the advice here, John? If there's a couple of founders or a couple of key people in business, know your roles.
I love that.
Yes.
You need to know your roles.
100%. 100%. It's like, from the standpoint of like, want to start a business and their interests and their skills align perfectly. It's not a good partnership. You need one of them that has skills here, the other one has skills here, so they can cover a lot more. You don't want to that you do because you need him to wear a hat that fit on your head, so to speak.
I like that.
It's so true.
So yeah, I mean,
it's that old adage, John, isn't it? That
when your partner said that, you were like, smokes, now I can blow this up. You can go find us our 50 million. Once you guys made that choice, did it expedite the process?
Sorry, you broke up there, John. Say that again.
I was saying, once you guys realized that you needed to be focused on different stuff in the business, did that expedite the journey of
absolutely
selling.
It did, John. Man, that moment where it was that realization of you need to focus on that role and you need to focus on that role. I'm telling you, this happened because it was that clear moment. Okay, this is my role. And Marty, we talk about it in sports, right? You talk about it in basketball all the time, right? Which
Absolutely.
is know your role. If you're going to embrace your role, the team's going.
Look at any championship team. People have their role. Yeah. You got the scorers, you got the guys who rebound, you got the guys who play defense, you got the coach. So it absolutely translates to business and any other relationship or anything else you're trying to be successful in as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yep. You good, Keith?
Absolutely. Hey, gents, I'm gonna take myself off screen. You guys keep the conversation going for a minute here. I'm having a real hard time with this conversation because I can't hear anything. So you guys keep the dialogue. Marty and John, just fill in for a minute here. I'm gonna do a reset on my browser and come back. Okay, hang tight.
All right.
I can hear you, okay, brother. I think he was the one. I think he's the odd man out.
He's having some issues over there.
He's the hub of the whole thing. So when it comes like when you started your business, I remember you saying you got into fitness 8 years ago.
Yep.
Were you just like, hey, I'm just going to start training people, or did you have some big model in line? What was share? Because sometimes people just need to kind of have just start moving in the right direction. Like, what was your journey to get your business started?
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of just fell into it, man, accidentally. And what happened was I used my basketball network to build the business. So all of my old teammates and coaches, their moms, dads, sister, brother, girlfriend, wives, I kind of didn't realize, how meaningful fitness was to people, how it can change lives. And when I saw that, and when people saw how they benefited from it, it kind of just grew, through word of mouth. And that's kind of how I got it started. And you guys mentioned solving a problem. And so, a lot of people think the only problem in fitness that you're solving is weight loss. But you got the mental aspect, you got stress, you got injuries, you have, some disabilities in some cases. So that's pretty much how I got into it. How about yourself?
Well, because of basically my background, I started lifting weights young. I knew what I wanted. So as soon as I basically started making a lot of progress myself, people were, friends, family started, hey, can you show me how to do that? And I'm like, well, this is what worked for me. I'll show you. And it just, as people started to ask what I was doing, and I slowly but surely turned itself into a business. Granted, I was doing it on the side when I was, doing my strength career, my wrestling. And once I got to bodybuilding, that's when I said, okay, I'd turn pro bodybuilding, go to the gym, and then basically leaned on this element. I'd been doing it for decades, but then I actually turned it into a business. So it was a problem I was solving for a long time, but not really interested in payment for it. As I was doing other things for money. And so that's kind of where the whole thing. And then once I started to realize that, man, I can solve problems for people all over the world, and I can do it in a way where they're not having to be hungry, and they're not, I could take some of the pain out of the journey.
Yep.
And it just started blowing up.
Definitely.
So
I'm back.
Yeah. Are you back, Keith? Can you hear us? Are you back?
Thanks for your patience. Yeah. Listen, I often comment on the internet challenges here across the border. It must be my side here. So thanks for the patience, guys. But Alfredo Soup jumps in, guys, and says, I know about running a successful business from mentors and advisors, but I'm wondering how a guy like me even gets access to proper startup capital, motivated employees, etc. And yes, it all starts with an idea and fulfilling a supply demand, solving a problem, but getting there and becoming sustainable in this economy seems like a daunting and near impossible task. Alfredo Soup, you're not wrong. You're not, dude, being a solopreneur, entrepreneur, starting a business is not easy. Finding the problem to solve, solving it, and then scaling it is not easy. and find a way to show up every single day and add value to that one customer, before you know it, you're going to add value to the second customer and the third customer and the fourth customer. And I know it's not easy, and I'm not trying to suggest it is, and I'm not trying to glorify the journey of being an entrepreneur, because there's a lot of freaking tough days along the way. You are on your way. I can absolutely assure you of that. But guys, I want to get into, my continued story of when we sold the company. So Jobs comes on stage and announces it, and then we say, hey, let's go sell the company. And then at that point, we are on a journey to sell the business. And John, I tell this story often. When you're selling a company, it is a 1,000 piece puzzle. And if anybody's done an 1,000 piece or 2,000 or 3 or 4,000 or 500 piece,
I've been there, brother. I understand your pain. I've been there.
Every piece needs to fit, because if every piece doesn't fit, you're never going to solve the puzzle. Right. And I can tell you, we were 998 pieces into the puzzle journey, Marty, and there were a couple pieces that weren't fitting. And you're sitting there going, oh my God, is this thing actually going to close? And people don't recognize, when you sell something, the diligence process that has to happen. People think, oh, you're going to sell your company and somebody just hands you a check. Oh my God. No. The diligence that if somebody's going to hand you a check for multi-millions of dollars, I'm going to tell you right now, they are going to go through everything. They are going to have the most difficult questions. They're going to ask you the most complicated questions. They're going to ask you the most pointed questions. And as long as you can answer every single one of them, eventually those pieces are going to fit. And then eventually, John and Marty, they're going to give you that check. But man, from the moment somebody says, hey, John, I'm gonna buy your company from you, you're like, yeah, I've sold my company. Oh man, no, you still got months to go before that diligence process happens and every piece fits to the point where you're going, hey, I got the last piece, put it in there, you sign the paperwork, and it's done. But it is not an easy process that people think, oh, you just sell it. No, the diligence process is one of the most difficult things I have ever done. And I'll tell you, I've tried to buy a few companies along the way. The seller doesn't recognize often what the buyer wants to put you through in order for you to get my money. If you want my money, show me that your company is worth what you want me to pay for it, and then prove it to me.
Yeah, that's a brutal deal. I mean, when I sold my company the first way, it was the broker says, oh yeah, it's going to be 90 days.
Yeah,
90 days. It took almost a year for the whole thing to close, because just like you said, there's always, you get everything kind of put together, and then there's something you got to massage, and then something you massage leads to something else that's got to be massaged. And next thing you know, a buyer that continues to follow you, then that's a good sign,
Yes.
Just keep them coming.
Absolutely. And then we obviously get the employees along the way, right? So along the way, you are, being transparent with your humans, but at the same time, you're trying to be selective with the information you're sharing, because you don't want people to be nervous along the way. You don't want people thinking that things are going sideways or that the whole world's going to change. But once we identified those key humans that needed to be part of the process, we brought them into the fold and continued the journey. And I will tell you guys that one of the proudest moments that we had when we sold the company was sitting down with a number of day oneers, actually right across from this desk here, guys, and making many people millionaires who weren't equity owners, but who were deserved of that check, because I wasn't here if they weren't here. And that's often, I think, John and Marty, what entrepreneurs or business owners, I don't know if we do enough of, but is reminding ourselves that what got you to the dance.
Real quick, let me just intervene real quick. So for those of you who didn't follow that, I've heard the story before, so I knew what he just said. But basically what he's saying is he sold this thing, and there was 8 people that weren't actually into the sale. So and the business would not have worked without them. So he brought them to his house, and he made them all unexpected millionaires, meaning he cut them a check to make them millionaires, and they had zero clue. Now, That is freaking cool right there. And but more importantly, that's also an entrepreneur that understands that it's this team that helps him get there. So not only his team helped him get there, he showed thanks and gratitude to his team by making them unexpected millionaires. And that right there, I think sometimes is lost in entrepreneurship, is people they're doing it for the money and they don't look at it like Keith did. And how
I appreciate that, John. And I'll tell you something. This is often one of the, I reflect upon obviously having children, and there's some big moments that we have in life, but I will never forget the moment where I sat across a few of my colleagues at the time, and I sat down with somebody and I said, hey, I'll use you, John, as an example. Hey, John, you were supposed to get a bonus today of $25,000, but you're not going to get one. And then Marty, your face was like, what? Because you're planning on it, right? And I'm like, no, instead,
say it again, Keith. You froze up.
We froze. You froze.
Thanks.
Right when we're dying to hear what you're going to say.
Yeah, I said to you, instead, hey, I was going to give you a check for $25,000 for your bonus this year, but instead, you're not going to get that. I'm going to give you a check for $250,000 instead. But then I wasn't done, Marty and John. I said to this person, I said, and if we hit our targets over the next 3 years, underneath this check are 3 more checks for $250,000. So in that moment, I made that person a millionaire as long as we hit our targets. What was the key learning factor there, boys? Was that I took my key staff members and I tied them to my goals. You see, because when we sold our company, we sold the business, we got a tranche of money up front, and then we had to hit certain targets, part of our earnout process, to hit the rest of the sale proceeds. So I said to OGG, Marty at the time, was let's line up our key stakeholders with our goal. Because if we can line up our goal with their goal and their goal with our goal, we're all going to hit the goal.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. So I brought a few key stakeholders inside the house. And as John said, they were not equity owners of the business. They weren't deserved. It didn't have any quote unquote right to the money, but I knew in my heart of hearts, and OGG was like, no, if we're going to hit it, they got to hit it too. So we brought them in and we gave them checks and said, hey, here's your check. If we hit our goals, we hit the rest of it. And then what happened next is often what I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't consider when they sell their business, especially John and Marty, if they're in an earnout. And what's an earnout? An earnout is when you sell your business and the buyer gives you a tranche of money, but then they say, okay, Keith, hit your goals, and in 1 year, we'll give you the next tranche. Okay, Keith, hit your goals in the next year, and we'll give you the next tranche. So when we signed up to sell our company for $50 million, it wasn't $50 million on day one, guys. I did not get a check on day one for $50 million. Didn't work that way.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I had to earn it. I had to earn it. So we got about a third up front, and then we had to work over the next 3 years to earn the rest of it with no guarantees. We blew it all out of the water. We over-exceeded everything, and we earned all of our earnout. So,
that's a different level of like lock-in and mental and focus. That is impressive.
It was.
That's a lot of pressure too.
It was, because I knew what was at the end of the rainbow and I had to work to go get it. So you talk about making sure your goals are aligned with your team. It was just a nonstop of we got to go. Yep. Right? Because if we kept going, we knew what the end result was. It's like winning a championship, right, Marty? Right, John? If you put the work in, and if you keep putting the work in, there's a good chance you're going to achieve that goal. Well, I was damn well determined that we were going to go hit that goal. I got OGG here. Listening in and commenting, and he's right. He's like, guys, we were offered less money up front, but if we could hit our goals, we would excel and we would exceed, and we did. We were gamblers, so we took less money up front, and we gambled on ourselves. We gambled on our team. We gambled on knowing that we could do it, and we went. And then 3 years later, we hit all of our goals and exceeded it. But I'm going to tell you guys something. Exactly. If there's somebody selling your business if you're selling your business one day and you're selling it into a company that is going to put you onto an earnout, you are going to have conflict on that journey. Let me explain. Because the company buying you doesn't necessarily want to pay you all the money that you want them to pay you. So they're going to encourage you to make decisions along the way that might not be in the best interest of you, Marty, or of you, John, because they're thinking, no, but what about the best interest of the company? During that period of time, I'll just say it, all that I was concerned about was my bank account, because nobody else was. I knew that I had life-changing money for myself and my family, and OGG and his family, that I knew that the company that bought us wasn't caring about my bank account. They were worrying about themselves. So there was often many times in our path with that company that we had to make conflicting decisions that went against what they wanted us to do, because that was going to impact my ability to make money. So in my opinion, it's not a discussion often discussed when a company is sold, especially into somebody who's buying you and you're going to be part of an earn-out process. And yet, you're owned by somebody, but you're still not owned yet, because you're in a contract and you're trying to do things along the way. So there was a lot of times in that process, guys, where there was conflict, constant conflict. Every quarter it was like, well, no, you got to hit this. No, we don't got to hit that because I got to hit my bank account. Right? So you have to be selfish. You have to take care of number one, because if you don't, nation, nobody else is going to. It's true. It's absolutely true. So for 3 years, it was very, very selfish, trying to make sure that our numbers were hit so that we could cash out our absolute earnout. Right? So it was staying immensely focused, and doing everything we could to ensure that the maximized amount of earnout was available to us at the end. And we did it. Right? So what's going on from Japan? Glad to have you here on the show this morning. I'm glad to have you jump in here. So we sold the business, went through earnout, and I will never forget the story, guys, when because people always ask me this question too, which is like, so what is it like when you got the money? Well, I'll never forget the story where I cut myself a check, Marty, and I drove on down to the bank and I wrote myself a check for $1 million. So I wrote myself a check from one bank account to another bank account, and it was from the business bank account to my personal account, sitting right here at the desk. Just wrote out in my handwriting letter, right? Just handwritten check. I got into my old Jeep, drove on down to the old bank. And Johnny, at the time, I'm just wearing some, because you're thinking, okay, I got a bunch of cash. I don't got to show up in an Armani suit. I'm just going to show up in my jeans and a t-shirt and a hat. So you walk into the bank and you're all confident and proud, and you put the check on stage and they look at you, they're like, oh, you just wrote yourself a check for $1 million. I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And they're looking at you like, they're looking you up and down. They're judging the book by its cover. They're judging.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
But then they go,
brother, getting the book judged by the cover, brother. I'm like, that's all that ever happens to me. People don't look at me and think that I'm successful other than building my body. And that's because there's a lot of people that they trade their lives to get a good physique. Unfortunately, they never learned that taking that, what built can go to their business and everything else. But so that moment you're describing,
I know, brother, you can relate to it. That's why I bring it up, John. So when I walked in, I'm like, I know they're judging, but I know deep down, I'm like, yeah, but the money's in the bank. So judge all you want. So that was a wonderful feeling of going in, cashing the check, leaving. But I will tell you though, guys, because nobody talks about this often as well. And, and I think we're going to have to get into a second discussion about this in future shows, but money does change you. Anybody who tells you differently is lying to you. And there was a period of time where I didn't like what money did to me. I'm just going to put it out there. Didn't like it.
Flashy Keith.
Really?
Yeah, I just didn't like it because I wasn't raised with it, Marty. And I quickly learned after. So it was nice to be able to go and buy anything I wanted. It was nice to be able to go to the stores and buy a bunch of great stuff. But that's what all it became, Marty, was stuff, right? And then you quickly get into, at least what I felt was the prison of having to buy the next year's version of the stuff. Oh, so I got the nice Tom Ford suit this year. You know, you become part of the marketing campaign, then you get the advertisement for the next year's Tom Ford suit. You're like, oh, wait a minute. You're just getting into this hype cycle of supporting all these big luxurious brands, of spending money for what stuff. And I got into it. I'm not going to deny that I got into it. But when I reflect upon it, I would do things differently today. But I guess you got to go through it to be part of it. Right. So anybody who says money doesn't change you, it does. I will say that if you can find the awareness in your journey, though, to put a stop to it or find strength within it, you can use that money to enable experiences instead of buying things. And then as I went through my journey, I recognized that experiences became more important to me and less stuff. And as I've matured in life, you kind of fall back from what you think you want and think you need. And instead, you pivot towards what you enjoy, which is this idea of experiences and less stuff. So,
well, you know, on that level, brother, one of the things, I mean, granted, I'm not saying that I sold the company for $1 million, but I've always been going really well. I experienced the same thing. Like, God, I have this ability to do what I want. Well, to say that money is going to magnify who you are, but what part of you are you allowing it to magnify? So I started looking, okay, you know what? I'm going to buy my daughter's cars. I'm going to make sure.
Yeah.
I basically went and basically bought a vacation out of Mexico that we could use whenever we wanted to. So I used that financial boost to really create a better place. So I chose, I got a little caught up in what you were saying. I went and got myself a couple cars. What do I need multiple cars for? My wife and I, there's 4 cars for 2 of us. That's kind of silly. Okay, let's get rid of that shit. Let's buy the daughter's car. Okay, let's buy this place where we could all go. So when you get that money, what part of you are you going to allow it to magnify is the question.
It's true. It's absolutely true. I bought my parents, you know, I sent my parents to Africa. You know, I bought a bunch of stuff for sure I did, but it's, you know, and the money allowed me to enjoy Vegas in ways that I would not have experienced had I not had the money. But you know, here's the best way for me to share me with all of you. And, you know, again, it's funny, man, because I know Marty's like, Bilous, you got to tell more of your story, man. I get so uncomfortable with all this. It's the Canadian side of me. I'll just say this. For my 40th, I took 17 people to Vegas for an all expenses crazy extravaganza. For my 50th, I just took 7 people to Kenya off the beaten path and had a wonderful family journey off the beaten path. And in those 10 years, man, I had a journey, and that'll be a different show for a different story for a different show. But I can tell you that from 40 to 50, much changed in my life. And I went from, you know, the extravagance of flying around Vegas and having some crazy times to just spending time with my kids and my family at my 50th. And that's where I find joy these days, is experiences and spending time with family and creating and building again. So, it was a crazy journey from nothing to something. And now we're back again in the lab, rebuilding this brand new business, rebuilding a brand new purpose for and solving new problems for humans, which is what our goal is here in the lab here. So I'm going to admit that I had some technical difficulties with our conversation this morning. So I don't know if it came out as good as I would have liked it to come out. So I might have to retell the story again one day. You know, it was a story from nothing to something. And to me, the key themes are, you know your roles, John and Marty, know your roles, right? Show up every single day. You know, resilience is the key. It's always finding a way to have that resilience to keep moving forward, because you're going to have more bad days than good. You know, you are going to have more bad days than good. And when you have those good days, own them, enjoy them. And just solve problems, keep solving problems, and keep taking care of those customers, right? That's kind of how I would really, work towards, that key point of the story. So I know, Nation, we were going to dig into the Business Athlete Manifesto today, but I don't think I'm going to get there today because I want to wrap up the show here in a couple minutes. We will come back with that and to talk about the pillars of the lab, the pillars of what moves us forward today. But that's the nutshell of how I started ICUC from nothing, built it up, sold it for a few bucks, And kind of filling in the gaps throughout the way there. Marty, what are some of the things that I've told you along the way that I haven't shared with you on this conversation this morning that maybe makes you curious? Anything
that you told me personally that you didn't share on the show today?
Yeah.
Oh, probably your decision making. You tend to panic a little bit, and you had to ask somebody for help or for guidance or for their suggestions. I don't want to say who, but they're like, man, just stop thinking about it and make the freaking decision. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. Yeah. There were some times I will tell you that I get so caught up in my decision making, Marty or John, where I was having trouble making a decision, or whether it was building my house or whether it was, I was coming into money, Marty. I was coming into money, and I never had money before. And as I was coming into it, I remember OGG saying, just make the decision, man, and do it. Build your house, buy the Tesla, right? Book the trip for your family, right? Those were things that I was struggling to make decisions on. And I needed a friend, a mentor, a rock, a friend to say, dude, do it. And if there's one thing I can, and invite everybody is to ask yourself, who's in your circle? Who's your trusted source? Who's your rock? Who's going to empower you to make those safe decisions? And Marty, I would tell you that, John, you talked about before having mentors, right? OGG has been a rock for me my whole life, right? That person that I can rely on, that person that I can look to. And I think any entrepreneur, we need to have that rock, that mentor, right? That OGG has been there for me through starting the business, through my divorce, through every journey in my life. And I think that, those unsung heroes, we don't talk about them enough, right? The people that are around you. John, I know you talk about, you've talked to me probably with your wife, right? Who's been there to help you through your journeys and help you through all those different things in your life. And, there are certain people that are just that, I don't know if we give them the credit that they deserve, but are those that really help us get to the level we want to get to.
Yeah.
Sure. So there's my story. I don't know if I did the best job telling it. I'm going to admit I had technical difficulties and I was having some echo issues with you guys. So I don't know, maybe I was having some troubles just kind of delineating my story to you guys. But listen, if you guys all want to hear more about my journey from zero to something and trying to do it again, I invite you to come knock on my door here in the lab, have a coffee with me.
Keith is going to start telling more of his story too. Me and Keith talked about it.
Yeah, Marty wants the nice Canadian to share more. Marty wants the nice Canadian to share more of his story and be a little more American and get you all just signing up for what we're doing here in the lab here. So, Ange, I appreciate your comments. I went to high school with Ange, John, and Marty, and she says, "Great interview. Thanks for sharing. You're authentic then and now. It's the only way I know how to be." Right. And it's funny because I had a comment here on Threads this morning and somebody said, "Hey, I had a tough day last week." I said, "Yeah, so did I." And I broke down in tears. Like, "What, you cried?" Yeah, I did. I'm going to share it, man. I had it because I needed to get the emotion out. And sometimes
nothing wrong with crying. Nothing wrong with crying. I mean, Jesus. I mean, it's the idea that you can look at it from sometimes I cry because I'm happy. Sometimes I cry because I'm frustrated. Sometimes I cry because I got this overwhelming emotional, call it, I don't want to say, they just want to get out. And sometimes a good cry is we'll just read.
I love that you shared that, John Anderson. I really do. Because you talk about a book being judged by its cover. For you to come out and be vulnerable to state that is magic, man. Wow. Because I too, man, you have 3 daughters. I have 2 daughters, man. My daughters make me cry all the time. But I only bring it up, John and Marty, because I think often as men, and we know our audience, a lot of our audience is men, guys, we are reluctant to share that emotion, right, John? Or we're reluctant to know where to put that emotion. And last week, I just needed to let the emotion out. I sat in my summer sunroom there, my summer office, Marty, and I just let it out. I just cried. And I felt so good when I was done because I needed to find somewhere to put the emotion. It wasn't in the bench press. It wasn't in the squat. It wasn't on the bike. It was just that, you know what? I need to let it out here in this moment. And I'm okay admitting it. And I'm okay stating it. And Anderson, I'm glad you said it as well, my friend, because if we can encourage our audience, guys like Marty, I don't know if you have the courage or the comfort to say that you have or do cry. But my purpose and my goal here, I know what John is to give the other males listening to us that permission to go, you know what, I'm having a shitty day right now. I'm going to cry. Do it.
Yeah, I let one out every now and
then. There we go. There we go. And on that level, the idea that, you cried, you're weak. No. It's easy to run it. It's difficult to lay your shit out for everyone to see. So you want to call me a little bitch because I cry? I'll own that. If that's what you want to call it, doesn't change my method. Doesn't change what I do. Doesn't change how I go about it. And XYZ because I cried, all good. But the bottom line is it's easy to hide from it. It's easy to run from it. It's easy to go do it where no one can see it.
Hallelujah.
Shit out where, it is actually allows people to see that it's real. You're human. And sometimes when people see that you shed emotion, it'll help them realize it's not such a bad thing.
Too much.
Stigmatized.
I can agree with that.
Too much. So as all three men just break out into tears here on the show, we just all start crying. but John, I'm glad you raised it though, right? Because emotion is a topic often discussed with men, but on the negative side, right, John? Right, Marty? It's often talked about the aggressive side of emotion. Oh, I got into a fight, or I went and hit something, or I put my finger or my fist through the wall. Nah, just slow down. Let the tears come. Yeah. Let the emotion come somewhere else, right? And not be afraid of it, right? Yep. So if we can give you a safe space on this show to have that part of your conversation, then I think we are winning, gentlemen.
And you know what I say to people that asks about God, that seems difficult? I say, you know what? Start with a happy cry.
Yeah.
We all watch a movie. I'll listen. I'll hear a song.
Oh yeah.
And so if you start off with a happy cry, it's like you're breaking the seal in a way that, oh, are you okay? No, I feel great, man. This song gives me goosebumps. I'm getting goose pimples right now just talking about having a happy cry.
Yes. Yes. Hey Marty, do you think John was having a happy cry this weekend as he was picking up boxes, moving his daughter?
Yeah, she's moving on to bigger and better things, so he's happy, so he cried.
Or he's going, what the hell am I doing lifting these boxes? Johnny, what's your wife's name?
Terry,
why didn't we hire movers again? He's saying to Terry, why the hell didn't we hire movers? Right?
Oh, I'm telling you. It's, but when it's all said, here's another little side note. So yes, I squat, like some of the people who are doing, they're like, oh man, did you work out this morning? I said, are you out of your mind? Of course I work out. I'm not going to let moving take my,
or they count moving as the workout.
Picking up something.
Yeah.
Well, but I mean, granted, that's you could. That's Marty. What I would say is that's the easy decision, not the right decision.
I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah. And so that being said, don't let these little take you off your deal. Would it have been a little easier if I didn't? Yes. Was it a little bit more of a challenge? Goodness.
There you go. There you go.
Life's all about.
Gentlemen, we have been at this for looks like 90 some odd minutes here this morning. Marty, we have not done the fit tip here this morning. Are you ready to rock and roll with it, or should we pass it till tomorrow? You want to rock and roll the fit tip today?
Yeah, I'll make it quick.
Let's do it. Let's hop into the C Marty fit tip. We're going to wrap it up the show here today, and then we're going to come back, continue our discussion tomorrow and Wednesday. We're going to get into the Business Athlete Manifesto. And what is that? It is a set of principles that I wrote down a number of years back as I was exiting ICUC, And it was these pillars that I have put together, which I believe make up the business athlete. It's what gets me out of bed every single day. It's these pillars that help us, move forward. So we're going to get into that later this week. But before we do that, let's jump into the See Marty Fit Tip.
Let's do it. All right, let's get into the fit tip for today. Flexibility isn't just about being able to touch your toes or do an impressive split. It's a cornerstone for your overall fitness. When you're flexible, your body moves more efficiently, you reduce the risk of injury, and you recover faster. But benefits of flexibility extend far beyond the gym. Just like your body needs to be flexible to perform optimally, your mindset and approach to life and business need flexibility too. A flexible mind doesn't get overwhelmed by change, immediately looks for alternatives, is more resilient when plans fail. So remember, the gym isn't just about physical space when you visit to strengthen your body. It's how you train your mind too. And flexibility is a big part of that. That's the fitness tip for today.
Nicely done, Marty Fit. Christopher Martin. The See Marty Fit Tip every single day here in the lab. Coming up later this week, the John Anderson Lifestyle Tip. Going to drop it with you guys later this week. But hey, guys,
we need part two, Keith. We need part two because I got more questions.
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's do so. Okay, I'm gonna confess something here. So I'm a little pissed off right now.
It's okay, man. Because of the technical difficulties.
Yes, I know, Marty. You can tell. I'm a little. And you know, Marty. You know where I'm going to go with this, right? You know, when you've played a basketball game, or John, you've gone in for a lift, and you're going in expecting to have this awesome lift, or you're going in to have an awesome basketball game, and the game's over, and you're like, ah. That's how I'm feeling right now. So, Nation, I'm pissed off, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to deliver to you guys the quality of experience that I wanted to deliver to you guys. Because as Marty was talking, I said to myself, do I go and just express myself to John and Marty when the show's over, or do I just say this right now? And I'm saying it right now. I'm pissed off because my tech didn't work like I wanted it to work. I was not able to get my story out like I wanted to get my story out. So I'm hopefully you guys will, enlighten me to do this again later this week and share more. And Marty asked some more questions, and John, but I did not like my game today. John, so you go to the gym, you're like, I don't like my lift today, Johnny.
But the good news and all of he just expressed, he's going to take this, he's going to turn it around. He's going to use that frustration, that being pissed off, to do something bigger and better with it. So for those of you guys listening, just remember, sometimes misfire is exactly what you need to do what you're doing bigger, better, faster, stronger, whatever it is. So you hear him say he's pissed, but all that's doing is driving him to do better next time. Don't misunderstand those words.
That's well said, Anderson. That's really well said, my friend. And I guess if anything, right, I've always said to you and Marty, we're building a plane while we fly. And there's entrepreneurs right now. There's people going into a meeting or leaving a meeting, or I wasn't the best one. Well, hey, it happens here as well. And this wasn't, I didn't think this was the best show. And it's funny, Marty, because I talked to Carter last week, and it's like, it's like playing a hockey shift, right? You think you did okay, but yet your dad's going, you played really well. No, I didn't play very well. Right. So there's people right now going, the show wasn't that bad. No, I didn't think it was very good at all. Actually, I thought I did a shitty job. So I apologize for that. But as John said, I'm going to go and regroup. We're gonna rewire the cans here in the house there, John, so that maybe the tech works better tomorrow, and we're gonna continue the dialogue. So, Johnny and Marty, I appreciate both you guys' support.
Absolutely.
We will rock and roll throughout the day. We're going to be back here tomorrow. Nation, we have a guest showing up on Friday. Marty, we got somebody down from your neighborhood, my friend.
Looking forward to it.
Met a lady on Threads there. She's a personal trainer. She's going to join us, and we're lining up some guests for the rest of the week as well. So we're going to continue my story throughout the week. That's what we'll do. We'll get into more conversation about how I sold ICUC. We're going to get into conversations about the Business Athlete Manifesto. I want to hear about John Anderson's story about how he started his gym and sold it. John, I haven't heard that story. I want to hear about yours.
I want to hear it too.
I want to hear because you were a young 20-some-odd punk who started a company and sold it. So there's some value in that.
Yeah.
So you want to get
100%. You see, I was in college. I had no intention of graduating college to go get a job. So I knew that I was coming out of college, and I
love it. I love it. Love it. All right, Nation, we're going to get out of here. We've kept you guys for a couple hours. You know, it was an entertaining, informative show back and forth, but we're going to do better tomorrow. We're going to do better, 1% better every single day. So we're going to get out of here. Have a good one, guys. Johnny, Marty, I'll talk to you guys throughout the day. And thanks for tuning in, everybody. Alfredo Soup, and Quick Drop, Enzo, Shello, Deanna, Dustin, Adam, and those that are still sticking around now. Adam, I appreciate you guys joining us. 8 o'clock Eastern time, Monday to Friday, the only morning show to help you guys get your ass out of bed and get you moving to your next goal in life. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yep.
Where's that sound effect? There it is. See you guys later.